14 years ago, a fungal epidemic wiped out over 98% of the world's fauna, followed by a global collapse in food production, which led to a second civil war, leading to famine and cannibalism. Former U.S. Army Sergeant Hailey Freeman lives on a remote farm with her husband Galen and their children Emmanuel, Arain, Dennis, and Cookie. One day, a group of armed men crosses the cornfield and approaches their home. The leader, not seeing the inhabitants, shouts to them, admiring the harvest and fertile soil, while the others try to sneak inside. However, they are quickly and silently eliminated. The leader, unaware of this, continues to insist that they were just passing through and needed a break. Suddenly, a whistle is heard nearby, and then the intruders begin to drop dead from well-aimed shots. The few survivors run, but they too are caught by Hailey's bullet. Meanwhile, her teenage daughters fire at the enemies with sniper rifles. MNI strikes down the last one. He rips off his mask and freezes in place. A girl lies before him. The entire family gathers around her body, trying to figure out how the enemies managed to enter the territory. Galen calls for ammunition, and it turns out that the girl is still alive. But Hailey orders her son to finish off the enemy, and he, despite clearly feeling sorry for the girl, shoots. That evening, the Freeman family gathers for dinner, where the children practice whistling to sound an alarm if needed. The mother strictly demands reports on the books read and expresses displeasure when she hears that her daughter hasn't read what she assigned. After discussing current affairs, Hailey instructs MNI to deliver supplies to her friend and neighbor, a guest who lives on a nearby farm. She strictly instructs him to avoid strangers and not to engage with them. The following days proceed as usual. The family trains, remembering to check the integrity of the electric fences. Cameras monitor the perimeter security. Father and daughters go into the forest to forage for medicinal and edible plants and store the raw materials in an underground bunker. Every evening, everyone practices shooting and works very hard. Hailey constantly listens to the radio to learn about the status of the neighboring farms. And one day, a gas auto learns of a gang of cannibals who have attacked several farms. A neighbor announces her niece's arrival and asks Hailey to teach the farmers' self-defense techniques, but Hailey refuses, fearing for her family's safety. Later, Augusta reports the death of a family of Fleming farmers at the hands of a large group of armed cannibals. That day, Galen reports finding an intact warehouse full of spices, now worth their weight in gold. It's also full of weapons and tools. Hailey tells her husband about the cannibals' appearance. Meanwhile, MNI decides to take a swim in the river. Upon reaching the shore, he notices a stranger swimming nearby and follows her to Augusta's farm. Meanwhile, Dennis's initiation ceremony begins at his home. The girl recites an oath and lights a bonfire, around which children immediately begin dancing. MNI, who has arrived, is reproached for missing his sister's ceremony. The boy expresses his displeasure at the burning of the remains of the harvest, which could have been shared with those in need, but the adults abruptly cut him off, saying they have no intention of maintaining contact with anyone. That night, MNI recalls growing up on a farm as a child, and one day seeing his mother come to see her son at dawn. He secretly turns off the power to the fence and goes to the river. The girl is not there, and he begins to draw her, trying to preserve the memory. That evening, the mother expresses concern to her son about his strange behavior. Lately, a few days later, MNI, Galen, and Dennis go to the warehouse, hoping to find useful items. They search the area when Dennis freezes, seeing bodies hanging from the ceiling. They immediately encounter a group of armed men and point their guns at them. However, one of the soldiers explains that they are soldiers protecting the Fleming family. Hearing this, Galen opens fire, knowing already that the Flemings are dead. Before leaving, MNI suggests searching the bodies for anything useful. Dennis checks the bag of one of the dead, unaware that the elderly woman pretending to be dead rises, shoots the girl in the stomach, and runs away. Later, Galen returns to the farm with the wounded. Dennis Hailey administers first aid and stabilizes her, then tries to contact Augusta to report the incident, but she is unavailable that night. MNI hears sounds from the forest and runs to the fence. In the darkness, he sees a girl and recognizes her as the one swimming in the river, who begs him for help the next morning. Down, and Hailey warned the children to always be on guard and to shoot first, no questions asked. Afterward, MNI heads to the barn where the tied-up girl is sitting. He assures her he means no harm, gives her something to drink, and offers to stitch the wound on her hand. But she asks him to free her so she can treat it herself. She's outraged by her abduction, to which the guy explains that he's acting on his mother's orders. At that moment, Hailey orders him over the radio to return to the house. And I ties up the stranger again and leaves. And at dinner, Mom sternly reminds the family that the bodies hanging in that building belong to people they knew, so they have no reason to relax. The whole farm could be crawling with these bastards without your knowledge because I didn't find any of you on duty. I think we're screwed. That evening, and I returns to the barn and asks the girl to answer who she is and why she's here. She begs him to let her use the radio to contact the Freeman farm, where Aunt Augusta sent her. The guy uneases her and talks about his love of swimming. Then the girl admits that she actually saw him watching her by the river. And then she notices his Walkman. In the morning, Hailey discovers her son is missing, and the sisters say he went into the bar. There are new acquaintances listening to music, dancing to it, YSMNI watching with delight. However, this delight gives way to fear when Minnie's parents suddenly appear, and her mother drags the girl outside, locking the boy in the barn. Outside, the girl, at gunpoint, tells Hailey that her name is Dawn, and she provides medical aid to farms. Their farm was attacked, and Aunt Augusta sent her for help. Hailey remembers meeting Augusta when she returned for her son after the urban apocalypse. Then they arrived at the farm together and found all its inhabitants killed. They searched it and found a terrified but alive MNI. At this time, the boy escapes from the barn and hurries to the control room, from where he tries to contact Augusta. But there is no answer, and a moment later, an angry mother appears. And I claims that Augusta is in trouble and needs help. But Mom reminds them that the neighbor is actually a Marine and can take care of herself. Their job is to protect their farm. She reproaches the boy for falling for Dawn's deception and insists she's lying. This leads to a conflict between mother and son, after which MNI picks up the girl and takes her away from the farm. Hailey, having discovered their disappearance, follows. Meanwhile, the couple arrives at Augusta's village, but it's abandoned. Galen notices a camera malfunction and goes to investigate, finding the power outage and a hole in the fence. Meanwhile, Hailey inspects Augusta's home, but it's empty with blood stains on the floor and walls. Dawn leads MNI to an abandoned trailer, where she admits she lured him there because cannibals had captured her loved ones. They had sent her to the Freeman farm to lure them out. And while Dawn is saying all this, someone sneaks up behind me. Meanwhile, Hailey searches the houses but finds only destruction and blood. Suddenly, the woman is attacked and is unable to fight off the thug, who strangles her. It turns out the deer head is a mask concealing a cannibal, along with his accomplice, intends to eat Galen while his accomplices sneak into the house. Meanwhile, Rain and Cookie notice the security cameras shut off and realize the cannibals are already nearby. Rain, ordering his sister to stay put, takes a position by the window with a shotgun, watching the enemies approach. Galen, meanwhile, is pinned to the ground by her hands, but the man freeing one of them deals with their attackers, using a nail in his hand. Meanwhile, Hailey awakens in the basement, tied up with a wounded Gasta sitting next to her. Back at the farm, Rain opens fire with her rifle at the approaching enemy. However, she faces fierce return fire and takes cover behind a wall. Gail orders her daughter over the comm to abandon her position and go down. Hailey is just telling her about a girl who claimed to be a ghost's niece. She confirms this and explains that the cannibals forced her to find the Freemans. The woman says she hid her children and asks them to save them. At that moment, the cannibal leader enters and tells Hailey she can join their ranks. She spits in his face, expressing disgust at cannibalism, and he orders him to kill a guest. Meanwhile, I is eating with 3 children, and Dawn apologizes again for bringing him here. Otherwise, the children would have died. I understands the situation and orders them to stay put while he finds a guest. Meanwhile, at Galena's farm, the children are hiding in a fortified basement, but Dennis remains upstairs hiding in a closet. Meanwhile, Hailey comes to just as the cannibal is about to kill her. She kills him by strangling him and takes a rifle when the cannibal leader appears, and is instantly rendered negatively alive by her shot. At the farm, Galen, who has entered the basement through a secret passage, orders his daughters to stay downstairs while he finds Dennis. Meanwhile, Hailey, trying to escape the basement, encounters MNI seeing Augusta's dead body. He realizes that his mother always did everything for the family's survival and thanks her. Meanwhile, Galen cautiously climbs upstairs, and Rain turns off the lights and closes the automatic blinds throughout the house, allowing her father to take advantage of the darkness. The man then shoots all the intruders, but when Rain turns on the lights, it becomes clear that he too was seriously wounded in the battle. Meanwhile, Hailey meets Dawn and the children and takes them with her at the farm. Galen brings Dennis to the basement, but passes out from blood loss. Is just showing her mother her secret passage, which allows a much quicker approach to the house. Meanwhile, Rain, reviewing security footage, discovers two bandits preparing to burn down their home, and Galen asks to be led into the basement. Outside, Hailey and the children are approaching the farm when they start taking fire. The mother instructs her son to take the children to the safety of the basement, promising to deal with the threat inside the house. Rain lets into cannibals, showing them a wounded Dennis. One of the enemies threatens her with toy to soak, while his friend searches the basement and finds a room with ammunition in a cabinet with rare herbs and spices. At that moment, Galen suddenly attacks, killing her, and Dennis stabs the second bandit, after which Rain finishes him off. Outside, the mother, despite being wounded, dispatches several attackers. Running low on ammunition, she retreats, and the children arrive and encounter Rain, enraged by the arrival of the aliens. But Dawn immediately rushes to Gwen's aid, who reconciles the girls with her presence, leaving everyone below. Goes to look for her mother, who is surrounded by 3 surviving rivals. Overcoming the pain, she dispatches 2 of them, but the third strikes her fatally in the back. Before he can finish her off, her son appears and destroys the attacker. He rushes to his mother, begging her not to die, but she closes her eyes. A few days later, life on the farm returns to normal, and the children, including those rescued from Augustus' farm, set the table for dinner. Suddenly, Hailey appears weak from her wound but still alive. The family gathers around the table, and their mother looks on with love and pride. Instead of a post-apocalyptic action movie, viewers got a slow-burning family drama, in which the main elements of fantasy were relegated not just to the background,